Welcome everyone, Costin here on Serious Gaming with my review of Dragon Age Inquisition, the Trespasser DLC, the conclusion of Dragon Age Inquisition, the final DLC, and then we'll get Dragon Age 4, whatever that may be, assuming EA green lights that. Which they haven't, by the way, they haven't approved the project yet. There's obviously plans, which this DLC makes clear for the future, but EA hasn't given their stamp of approval on it yet, though they obviously have developed some things in terms of concept, story, and so on and so forth. So anyway, it's been 2 years since the death of Corypheus, and we're gathered in the Winter Palace in Halam Shiral to deal with a bunch of nobles, a group of nobles in the Exalted Council that want the Inquisition to either disband, as Ferelden wants you to, or join under the leadership of Orlais. Basically put yourself under Orlais's command. That's what Orlais wants, obviously. Now there's a bunch of problems on the political side of things, but I'll leave that for later. While you're here in Halam Shiral, you are faced with a Qunari plot. You discover a dead Qunari soldier, which leads you to an alluvian, which leads you to a labyrinth of alluvians where you're dealing with Qunari who have this plot against the south, against Orlais and Ferelden. Now graphics, it's pretty much what you'd expect from Dragon Age Inquisition. Possibly slightly better, I don't know, I haven't really noticed that much of a difference anyway. But anyway, graphics are what you'd expect, still good, still looking good. Dragon Age Inquisition is a really good looking game. Gameplay in the Dragon Age series has always been mediocre, from Origins to Awakening to 2 to the DLCs of 2 to Inquisition. If gameplay was what Bioware's hoping would sell their games, they're very fucking mistaken with regards to Dragon Age. For Mass Effect that works, right? Because Mass Effect does actually have very interesting gameplay, but for Dragon Age, no, it's not mediocre. Ask the most hardcore fans of Dragon Age why they're playing their game, and I'm pretty sure the vast majority wouldn't tell for the gameplay, for the combat. That's not what they're interested in. They're interested in the story, the characters, the relationships with the characters. That's what draws people in. Dragon Age Inquisition is my game of the year of 2014, but it's not because of the gameplay. It's the story, the themes in the story, the choices, the character you are playing, and so on and so forth. Those were the things that made it my game of the year. Those were the things I enjoyed in Dragon Age Inquisition. Not the fucking gameplay. They did make some effort to balance it here more than in the base game to improve certain things, but the Dragon Age gameplay team, the combat developers, the class developers, all of that stuff, they aren't that competent at their jobs. Most RPG developers are really that good at their jobs, from CD Projekt, although CD Projekt does make better gameplay overall than Bioware does. There's still major problems with that as well. Mass Effect does have good gameplay overall. Those guys know what they're doing far more so than many other developers, but in terms of medieval fantasy stuff, I think only Dark Souls and Lords of the Fallen, though those games don't really have the kind of story style that these games have. They're not story-focused games that Dragon Age and Witcher are. Anyway, it's not gameplay that draws people here, it's the story. So we go through these alluvians, we go through the labyrinth to discover the truth, what the Qunari are doing. And you discover, through conversations with Ironbolt, with your advisors, all of that, Ironbolt tells you that your alliance with them, if you have it, with the Qunari is supposed to be going still strong. And he tells you that what you're dealing with is a Vidasala, a leader of a group in the Ben Hasraf who specialize in magic. Intelligence gathering, on magic, discovering magic, studying it, and then eliminating it. That's their purpose as a group. That's what this group is meant to deal with. And he feels that it's a rogue group, that they aren't acting under the directives of the Triumvirate. That's what he tells you. Whether or not he's lying to you is another matter. I'll touch on that a bit later. Anyway, you discovered that the Qunari have a plot with Gatlok, with something called Dragon's Breath, to eliminate the leadership of Sadr of the South, of Ferelden, of Orlais, to eliminate it using Gatlok. They've installed Gatlok bombs in Denerim and the Winter Palace and Valorio and so on and so forth, to eliminate the leadership of the South, to pave the way for an invasion. An invasion without any real resistance, so that the Qun can occupy the South. That's their plan under this Vidasala. That's what they were aiming for. Whether or not they are acting under the directives of The triumvirate is unknown. It's something the DLC never clearly states. You could make a strong point for them doing so, especially in regards to Iron Bull. So anyway, you're investigating, you're going from place to place. Eventually you attack a Qunari barracks where they're keeping their dragon's breath. And as you're about to reach it, but this is after the point you found the Gatlock. You already know where the Gatlock is, you could probably deal with it. The plot at this point is dealt with in a sense. Sure, you still need to deal with the dragon's breath, but you have found the Gatlock. And just as you're about to find the dragon's breath, Iron Bull shows up, you know, and the Vidasala shows up, and Iron Bull betrays you. If he didn't become a Talvashah. If he became a Talvashah following his personal quest in Inquisition, he will stay with you. And the way he betrays you is so cold, so callous, I'd argue, in a way. Because if you bring Cole with you, he says that he didn't feel any pain, any regret, any hesitation on Iron Bull's side. The fact that Iron Bull betrays you isn't perhaps that surprising, the way he does it, that he didn't care for the relationship you built with him. Even if you romance him, he doesn't care. He'll still do it without any hesitation, without any regret, remorse, or anything like that. And Cole remarks on this, and it's quite devastating. It shows that Iron Bull didn't give an iota of a shit about you, the people he supposedly cared about in the Inquisition, so like, you know, Vivian. He had a good relationship with Vivian. He didn't care about that, and Vivian is rightly pissed about this. And her reaction, if she's divine, is that she thinks she'll call an exalted march against the Qunari for this. She is that fucking angry, and she perhaps represents the anger of the player. It just comes so out of nowhere. It's just, you could argue, perhaps badly done on a certain level, and I would perhaps tend to agree with that. I do feel it's rushed, because if you have Iron Bull, if you have the Chargers, there's a lot more content in there, the actual cinematics with Iron Bull. Whereas if you don't, if you have allied the Qunari, if you made that choice to sacrifice the Chargers, there's a lot less content. Sure, you have certain dialogues with Iron Bull, but they're not as well developed as in the other situation. And that's a fucking problem. I feel that Bioware dropped the ball here. Although the idea of him betraying you without any remorse, any regret, and all of that is fine in and of itself, I just feel that this was perhaps rushed. But still, it's fine, and it does show a side of the Qunari that makes them perhaps very reprehensible. That someone could be so close to you for over 2 years, could potentially be your love interest, and then still betray you without any fucking hesitation. That he was using you, lying to you all this time. And that says volumes about Iron Bull. Not entirely surprising, but still. Anyway, you deal with Iron Bull if he betrays you, and then you find the dragon, which is actually the source of the dragon's breath, so to speak. You either kill or free the dragon, and then the Vidasala reveals that the reason you even know about this plot, the reason you're fighting the Qunari, is because of Solas. Because Solas was the one who ensured that you would discover this plot. And so we chase the Vidasala. As our mark is threatening to kill us, our mark is growing more powerful throughout this entire DLC. It's threatening to kill us slowly. The pain is becoming unbearable. The Inquisitor is practically dying because of the mark. So we need to find Solas to either save his life, or, you know, to find him to deal with the mark. That's why you're chasing after the Vidasala. So you fight a bunch of Qunari to try and reach Solas before they do. You fail, as they do reach Solas before you, and then Solas promptly kills them all with ease. Yeah, yay! What a pointless fight, fighting all those Qunari in the Elven Ruins that makes the last area of this DLC, fighting this fucking boss battle with the Qunari mage. Anyway, you meet Solas, after he deals with the Qunari, and you talk with him. And he reveals everything. He reveals that the Inquisition has problems as an organization. It's grown powerful, but it has problems with agents infiltrating its ranks and using it. Because the Gatlock plot was made possible by the Inquisition, as Qunari spies in the Inquisition were able to move the Gatlock through the Inquisition in all these places, at least the Winter Palace for certain. And he tells you have to deal with that, and that this whole mess was yours to deal with in the first place, not his, though he made sure that he would. And then he reveals everything. He allowed Corypheus to gain his orb, and he did so in the hopes that when Corypheus got the orb, he would die, though Corypheus, being immortal, basically able to regenerate himself, didn't die when he got his hands on the orb. And so Solas joined you in the hopes of stopping Corypheus. And then he reveals other details as well. His plan. He plans, and his past. He is Fen'Harel. He led his people in a revolution against the elven gods, which were very powerful mages during his time, which ruled with their iron fist, with the exception of Mefal. But after the other elven gods killed Mefal, he turned against them, led a revolution, and imprisoned them in behind the veil. And here also reveals that the world of Phaedas that we live in, that in the world of Phaedas there didn't used to be a disconnect between the Fade and the real world. They were connected. The magic was widespread. And Solas reveals that he wants to tear down the veil, deal with the elven gods, and basically burn the world to cinder. That's his plan. Kill everyone, then remake the world. Well, everyone except the elves. Restore the ancient world. That's his plan. And you can either threaten that you'll try and kill him, or try and redeem him. Try and convince him to stop this foolish plan. Anyway, Solas helps you deal with the mark, but you lose your arm. So that's really it. Now all of this is decent enough. Sure, there's problems with the Iron Bull, but the whole thing with Solas is quite decent enough. If the DLC only dealt with that, perhaps it would be all well and good. But the DLC deals with far more than that. It's also the fate of the Inquisition. And here, I feel that the BioWare writers really dropped the fucking ball for a good number of reasons. First off, pretty much every major choice that you made in Inquisition is made meaningless. Hey, you decided to take the Templar Order under your wing and they stayed with you, so now that you have the most powerful military in southern Phaedas, with thousands of elite knights that are capable of dealing with mages, yeah, we don't care about that. We don't care about the Templar Order. They will mention the mages in Vivian's ending slide, but only the mages. Hey, you picked the Divine that you wanted, Vivian, Liliana, Cassandra? It doesn't fucking matter, because the circles will be rebuilt anyway, and the College of Enchanters will exist anyway. Brilliant! Our choice of the mages, completely fucking meaningless. Our choice of the Templars, completely fucking meaningless. Hey, you picked a ruler for Orlais that might be your puppet or owes the throne they have to you. Hey, you picked Gaspard, made sure that he got the throne, and he only stays in power because of your support, as the epilogue slide of Inquisition mentions. Doesn't fucking matter, as he won't lift a fucking finger to help you. Well fucking done, BioWare. Hey, you picked Briala, who rules Gaspard as a puppet and is only able to do so because of your support? The game doesn't fucking care. Celine, or you have all of them alive, working together, quote unquote, in peace so that Orlais is destabilized. The game doesn't fucking care. It will mention these things, but the game does not give an iota of a fucking shit about any of these things. The Wardens, yeah, sure, a mere mention. Oh, these things are mentioned besides the Templars. The Templars are never mentioned, nor are the mages. The mages are just written about in an epilogue slide, which is not voiced, I might add. Anyway, it just pisses me off that BioWare basically took the piss on every one of your fucking decisions. Oh, there's certain small impacts with Vivian, with Liliana, for instance. Cassandra is disgusted by Divine. Vivian calls her a tyrant, won't work with her. She gets a position on the Exalted Council, then leaves several years after that because she hates Vivian. But beyond that, there's no fucking impact. This is all about your companions and their fates. Sure, that's perfectly fine. But your major decisions in Inquisition meant fuck all of them. And here's the key point. They want to disband the Inquisition or put the Inquisition under Legion control. Let's ignore the power the Inquisition should have. Let's ignore the fact that the Inquisition could have the whole Templar Order on their side, the Grey Wardens, of Emperor, or Briala, who is ruling Gaspard as a puppet, right? Who's controlling Gaspard as a puppet. Let's ignore all of these issues, right? Let's ignore all of these fucking problems and then focus on the biggest one with all of this. Do you know what gave the Inquisitor the right to rule? The reason you were even able to build the Inquisition as is. It was a writ of the divine, certainly, that's mentioned. But it was something else. The reason you became Inquisitor, the reason you were able to create such a powerful organization, the fact that you were the chosen of fucking Andraste, the herald of Andraste. Does it ever get mentioned? Does the religious conflict that you had to deal with and the personal conflict that you had to deal with throughout the entirety of Dragon Age Inquisition get even a mere mention in this fucking DLC? No! Does it matter? No! Does anyone care that you're basically the chosen of this universe's version of fucking Jesus? No! They do not care. The writers did not fucking give a shit about this main conflict of their own fucking game. And it pisses me off. Fucking hell. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised from hack writer Weeks, who comes from the Mass Effect team, because the Mass Effect team has a history of taking the piss on previous game decisions and previous plots. Logic, right? I shouldn't be surprised that he pulls crap like that. But my god, does it piss me off. The Herald of Andraste, meaningless. The Templar Order, meaningless. Your choice of ruler of Orlais, meaningless. Everything you did in Inquisition is fucking meaningless. All your choices, all your major choices are completely fucking meaningless. And then we get the choice of either putting the Inquisition under the Divine's control and downsizing it because reasons, or disbanding the Inquisition. Way to go, BioWare. Way to take the piss on your own fucking game. I liked the Inquisition because it dealt with things like the religion. It had the religious debate throughout the entire fucking game. It had your role as Herald of Andraste, creating a personal conflict for the Inquisitor. It had you potentially becoming a puppet master when it came to Orlais, putting a guy that was effectively your puppet in charge of Orlais. And none of that meant anything in this DLC. Now sure, you may argue all you want that, oh, it's not true, you were not chosen by Andraste. It doesn't matter what that fate spirit was. It doesn't matter what it told you. What matters is how people perceived you in Inquisition. And you don't even have the choice of telling them otherwise in Inquisition. And now it's completely meaningless. And you know why they did this? You know why they took the Inquisitor arm and made all our decision meaningless? Because they wanted to have some pathetic fucking reason why you can't play the Inquisitor in Dragon Age 4. All of this for that. Because God forbid we play the same character for 2 games in a row, BioWare. God forbid that fucking happens. Thank you very much, you fucking hacks.